Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to dive into data ethics. And look, this is a topic that's not just for the IT department anymore, it's right at the heart of every nonprofit's mission. We're going to see why handling data the right way isn't just about following the rules, it's about building your greatest asset.
So let's start with a big question. Think about every single piece of information you collect on a donor, a volunteer, anyone. Is that data building a bridge of trust? Or is that exact same data a ticking time bomb, just waiting to blow up the confidence you've worked so hard to build? That's the real tension here, and that's what we're going to unpack today. Look, we're all swimming in data these days, right? And for nonprofits, this is awesome for moving your mission forward. But it also opens up a whole new world of pretty significant risks.
And what I love about this quote is how it frames the whole issue. This isn't really about tech. It's about people. It's about relationships. Data ethics is that non-negotiable backbone of trust. Take that away, and the whole thing can just fall apart.
So what actually happens when that trust gets broken? Let me tell you, the fallout is way bigger than just a bad press day. The real costs can be staggering. All right, just look at this number, 20 million euros. That is the maximum fine for a single violation of Europe's big data law, GDPR. And here's the kicker. It applies to any nonprofit handling data from people in the EU, no matter where you are in the world. The financial stakes are absolutely massive.
But it's not just about the money, right? A data breach starts this horrible ripple effect. First, your reputation gets hammered. Then, donor confidence just evaporates. That leads to a real, lasting hit to your revenue. And what does all that mean? Your ability to actually do your work, to have an impact, gets seriously damaged.
But then there's an even sneakier problem we need to talk about: bias. As Fred Alley points out here, our own assumptions, our own biases, can get baked right into the data we collect and use. We can end up making unfair decisions without even knowing we're doing it. And this shows you exactly what that looks like in the real world. An analysis back in 2019 found a jaw-dropping $20 million funding gap between white-led and black-led organizations. See? This isn't some abstract concept. Biased data creates real, measurable inequality.
Okay, so that's the scary part. The risks are very real. But the good news is there's a clear playbook for how to get this right. It's all built on what we can call the 3 pillars of trust. It really just boils down to these 3 things. You've got privacy, keeping data safe, consent, making sure people are in control, and transparency, being open and honest about what you're doing.
Let's dig into consent for a second, because this is a big one. We're not talking about that tiny print nobody ever reads. Real, informed consent means you clearly explain in plain language what you're doing with someone's data, and you give them the real power to say no thanks whenever they want. And this quote about transparency just nails it. Putting out a public data charter is such a powerful move. It's basically a public promise. You're saying to your community, here's how we handle your data, and we want you to hold us to it. So these pillars aren't just, nice to haves, they're actually becoming the law. So let's take a quick look at the legal rulebook that turns these ethical ideas into hard requirements. You've probably heard of the big ones, right? There's GDPR over in Europe, which is super strict about getting explicit consent. And then there's California's CCPA, which gives residents a ton of control, and even has this special category for sensitive personal information. And believe me, it doesn't stop there. If you work in healthcare, you've got HIPAA. In education, there's FERPA. Even your emails and phone calls are regulated. Yeah, it can feel like a tangled web, but it all points to the same thing: protecting people's information. Okay, we spent a lot of time talking about avoiding the bad stuff, but what about the upside? What's the payoff? Because getting data ethics right isn't just about playing defense. It's actually one of the smartest things you can do to boost your fundraising. And what's fascinating is that this isn't some future trend. It's happening right now. Over half of nonprofits, 58%, are already using AI. So the question isn't if you should be using data-driven tools anymore, it's how you can use them ethically. And this is what happens when you nail it. Nonprofits that use ethical AI and data strategies have seen their donation conversions double. I mean, that's not just a little bump. That's a total game changer. So you're probably wondering, how do they do that? Well, this quote explains the secret sauce. The key is a big shift in focus. Instead of trying to collect a bunch of sensitive personal details, The smart move is to analyze non-personal data, things like how often someone donates or interacts with your content. You get the insights without crossing privacy lines. And really, if you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Ethical data is not about putting limits on what you can do. It's a roadmap for building deeper, more authentic, and frankly, more effective connections with the people who make your mission possible.
So I'll leave you with one final question to take back to your team. When you really look at how you handle data from start to finish, is your organization truly built on a foundation of trust? Because honestly, in this day and age, that trust might just be the most valuable thing you've got.